Aloha, and welcome back to a special episode of Talk Story with House Majority. My name is Della Albalati, and I serve as the House Majority Leader for the Hawaii State Legislature. It's been almost 2 months since the end of session, and I'm so excited to be back here with Alelo to bring you a series of 4 special episodes throughout the interim. For this episode, I'm focusing on children and young adults who have not only weathered the pandemic, but managed to do some really incredible things for their communities and for themselves. Before we go to that, however, I have to mention that there have been some new developments with 2021 legislation. Yesterday, Governor David Ige issued his notice of intent to veto list to the legislature as required by the state constitution. We will have to consider what to do if and when the governor vetoes these bills on July 6th. We have 3 options: either to allow these vetoes to go into effect, to come in and override, or to come in and deal with some of the objections that the governor has and do a possible special session. Both House and Senate are under discussion now to determine what to do if the governor vetoes any one of these 28 bills. For now, I'd like to turn back to our guest. Our very first guest is Charla Teves, who coordinated the 2021 End Hunger Hawaii Summit. Welcome, Charla. It's a real pleasure that you're here with us. I'd like to start by having you introduce yourself a bit to our audience. Who are you? What school did you go to? What school are you going to? Some of that basic information.
Thank you so much for having me here. It's such an honor. And my name is Charla Teves, and I just graduated from Marino High School this past month, and I am going to University of Hawaii at Manoa in the fall.
So take me back to March 2020, when all of Hawaii was going into a lockdown. Tell me, what was it like to essentially go back to school virtually for the remainder of your junior year?
Yeah, so I didn't know at the time that I'd be doing virtual learning for over a year, but it was really wild. I didn't know even what Zoom was or how to use it, but ultimately I wanted to make the most of my time at home and lockdown. I remember my mom and I had a conversation. I was on spring break when I heard that we're going to go into virtual learning, and we just wanted to make the most of it and figure out ideas for me to be productive. And that's where we came up with a list of ways that I could start a gun violence prevention group and write letters to presidential nominees and candidates at the time, because this was in 2020, and do a whole bunch of other things that I'm really grateful that I did so that I could make the most of the time that I was at home.
So I really want to hear about the summit that you did, but before we get into that, did you ever go back to school in person? And what was your situation like for the rest of your senior year?
Yeah, so I actually didn't go back to school in person at all. I went a few days for a specific test or to hand in documents, but I did pretty much all of my learning online my junior year and all of my senior year, unfortunately. I didn't get vaccinated until this past May, and so I didn't feel like it was necessarily safe for me. My school, Marino, did amazing protocols, but I just personally made the decision to stay at home. But yeah, unfortunately, I didn't get to go in person.
So I think it's really amazing because so many of you and your own student colleagues throughout the state basically did that. And so it was really an amazing year of learning for all of you. So let's get to the End Hunger Summit, because you did some really great work and advocacy around that. Tell me what led to your involvement in this End Hunger Summit.
I always wanted to play somewhat of a role in my community and make a difference. And I guess it just presented itself, this opportunity, when it was around December, January, February even, I don't remember the specific month, that I heard Paula Fuga mocked on TV by a radio host after she shared a personal story of her struggle with hunger. I remember this made the news, and I was like so appalled that people would make these jokes at something as important of an issue as hunger. So I got an email up from someone saying, oh, you should apply from Youth Services America and Sodexo's End Hunger grants. And I was like, I think it was called the Stop Hunger Foundation grant. I was like, why not? So I was so mad at these DJs, why not? So I applied, and I didn't think much of it. And a month later, they're like, oh, you got the grant, now it's time to do the work. And I was like, wow, this is must be a sign. And that's how the Hunger Summit got started.
That story was very touching, and I think it's amazing that sparked you to do something. Now, I know that you recruited a number of youth board members, and so we have a video to share that was created by your youth board members, and if we could have Alelo play that now for our audience to share with them some of the great folks that you worked with.
Hi, my name is Noah Chang, and I wanted to share with you the reason why I care so much about ending hunger. A few weeks ago from recording this, I took a tour at the Hawaii Food Bank from the Vice President, Malcolm Inamine, and it was a very insightful experience because I learned that during the pandemic, they have had to almost double their output, which of course comes with a lot of cost. For example, a normal crate of food would approximately cost around $100,000. And the delivery trucks, forklifts, and other utilities would cost thousands as well. But the most important lesson that I learned from this experience was that the food bank largely depends on the community servants from other nonprofits to take the time to distribute food to people in poverty. After taking this tour and understanding how much work goes into providing families with substantial meals every week, I wanted to help out in the community as well. So I joined the End Hunger Summit Student Board. And just seeing all of the legislators and other hardworking people come together, I truly feel that we can make a difference in the state of Hawaii and pass effective legislation to end hunger. It's time to show hunger who rocks.
Hi everyone, I'm Summer Nishida and I'm currently a senior in high school, and I've participated in many organizations including Students Demand Action, which actually registered over 100,000 voters leading up to the 2020 election. And from that experience, I've learned that youth can really make a big impact when we are given the opportunity, and I feel that with an issue as prevalent as hunger, we as youth need to come together to make a difference on this problem once and for all. We'll eventually be inheriting this world, and I know I want to see a world where people and families don't have to worry about where their next meal is going to come from, and there are actually many ways you can get involved. So participating in the summit alone is one way, since it raises your awareness and it can invoke conversation amongst you and your peers. And another way would be to donate to a food bank. And I just hope that we can all make a difference one step at a time. Thank you.
Hi everybody, my name is Keo. When Charla asked me to be part of the summit, I agreed. But the first thing that came to my mind was a fridge, plenty of food. I'm lucky to not have undergone a state of hunger, so my words cannot be taken as a person who has experienced foodlessness. Still, I think the imperative and importance of ending hunger is intuitive. I've had days, as I'm sure others have too, where I didn't cook a meal for myself because I was tired. And when I was hungry, I would feel sluggish at work and unmotivated to be attentive in class. But if I still wanted to, I could still snack on something or get a delivery. For those who haven't experienced a fridge plenty of food, I can only imagine how demoralizing it feels to not be able to rely on anything to get through the day. We can only imagine that for those who involuntarily lack access to food, hunger means something totally different. For those with food, like when my stomach growls, it asks for food that it knows is accessible. For those without food, a stomach growl is another cruel wake. Food is necessary to stop debilitating hunger. If I'm less productive when I'm hungry, there are people who are unwillingly unproductive because of their food insecurity. While many see food as a basic necessity, the access to it and the choice in it is a privilege. For all of us to be fully part of our community and to expect total engagement, we should not be complacent on anyone's hunger. Thank you.
Aloha everyone, my name is Dami Amani. I'm 16 years old and a junior at Merrill High School. I'm a part of the student board for this event. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about how important it is for youth to act, especially to end hunger. According to Feeding America, there are about 42 million people in the country who may experience food insecurity. That is, not being able to access enough affordable and nutritious food. Could you imagine about 13% of the United States population is in risk of going hungry? These people could possibly include someone you know, your neighbors, friends, their families, their loved ones. Today, we often glance at the television or look to a newspaper to see the latest problem that broke the news. I'm going to ask you, do you ever look at those problems and think about what you could be doing to solve it? That is good. To solve the world's problems, you must start with a bright idea. Therefore, looking to America's youth is probably the most amazing thing we could be doing right now. Although we may not be the oldest, or have experienced everything there is to life, youth present a fresh look at the problem. Think about it. The next generation might just be the one that establishes a breakthrough in science, finds a cure to cancer, and maybe even solve hunger. You probably thought of a good idea once, and wondered what would happen if that idea were to become reality. Hunger is not something that can be solved in a day, or maybe not even anytime soon. However, I am challenging you all to take a stand. Visit a local food pantry. See what they're doing to help those in the community. Look online. See all the organizations out there working diligently to provide for the countless individuals. I want you to find something you think will help feed the hungry, and do it. It does not have to be a lot, but every food can, every dollar spent, every donation given makes someone's day better than yesterday. Share your ideas, get them out there, and make a change. Thank you. I'm going to dedicate this win to ending hunger.
Thank you, Noah, Keo, Summer, and Daniel. You had some amazing colleagues, Charla. So tell me, what was the process that you went through with the youth board to get organized? And what were some of the projects that you folks did as part of the End Hunger Youth Summit?
Yeah, the people that worked with me on this board, they were really amazing and really intelligent people, and I'm so fortunate to have them by my side during this project. We definitely did a lot of different things. They definitely helped plan the summit so much. I mean, it wouldn't have been the way it was without them. We also did together a food drive on the side. We did a food drive at Mary Star of the Sea Church and at Hongwenji Mission School, and we collected over 1,000 pounds of food, which was really amazing. And I know they're all very interested in helping the community and making a difference. So I think when we put, all our heads together, we just made such a big difference.
So for our viewers, I participated in the summit just as a participant, but can you tell a little bit about what happened at the actual virtual summit?
At the summit itself, we brought legislators, a few different ones, I think like 5 legislators, to speak on their opinion, or I guess viewpoint, of hunger and how we can help solve it. We had a panel of law students who proposed possible legislation or solutions that could be enacted maybe in the future as a way to address hunger, such as a statewide food strategy or school gardens, things like that. We had the youth board with their amazing video, and we also had volunteers from the Hawaii Food Bank and Sodexo, who have both been really incredible during this process, talk about possible solutions to ending hunger.
So you really involved a lot of community stakeholders, and that's precisely what we do here in the legislature. So can you talk about how you made those contacts, how you worked with the community, what you learned from that community process?
I think the first step was just like getting my idea out there, because I think everyone, when it comes to an issue as important as hunger, I feel like everyone's so willing to help because it's just so important. So I think I emailed like all the legislators, and I emailed a lot of people from the food bank and Sodexo, and from there it was like a lot of help was just rolling in, which was I'm so grateful for, because I could not have done it on my own. And it was just like once one person reached out to me, then another person did, and we all just came together for this cause.
And I will say the policy recommendations that were developed by the law school panel was very interesting. So is that something that you see as future steps for the youth board and for this summit?
Oh yeah, the students that were involved in the law student panel, they are really, really intelligent, and if I ever do another summit in the future, I'd love to use more law students because they're so bright, and even youth, because youth have such an important voice and ideas that are so unique that I think definitely shouldn't be overlooked. And with the summit, I think it was such a good outlet for them to voice their opinions and ideas, and I would love to do that again.
So what were your major takeaways from organizing this summit, from connecting with the community, from doing all of this work that you did during the pandemic?
Yeah, I would say one big takeaway was that during the pandemic, there was so much negativity, but I felt like this was such a light at the end of the tunnel. Like, this is change that we want to see in the world. You know, it's cliche, but people are always like, be the change you want to see in the world. And I think this was one step towards that. And I think it was really such a good time to do it during the pandemic because so many people were struggling with hunger. And I guess another big takeaway was that, you know, my mom and I, we always talk about this saying and we laugh about it, but it's serious that opportunity dances with those on the dance floor. And I feel like when you have an idea, you should totally go for it because it can open so many doors and you can meet so many people and that idea can become a reality. I mean, I wouldn't be sitting here with you talking with you if I didn't do that. So I think it's really amazing. If people have an idea, they should go for it.
Well, I think your mom sounds pretty incredible. You want to give a shout out? What's your mom's name?
Melissa Pavlicek.
All right, so she's incredibly skilled as well as a policy advocate here at the Capitol. So kudos to both you and her. I think she's very proud of you. What's next for our Ending Hunger Summit?
I definitely want this End Hunger Summit to be an annual thing, and with other projects in between. I have something in the works maybe for December, but I don't want to share too much yet. But no, I definitely want this project to be continuing because it's just so important. And if I could raise like 1,000 pounds of food in the span of a few months, I mean, I wonder what I could do if I had like a lot of time to plan something. So I definitely want to continue this work.
That sounds so excellent. And I know that the food bank put out that they're going to be having a food drive in August. So we'll share with our members later, our audience later, when those dates. Oh, there it is.
Yes.
Where people can go and donate food for themselves. Now, I want to know, Charla, what's next for you personally? Because this has been an amazing community project. But what about you personally? What are your plans?
Well, I do plan to stay here on the island to go to University of Hawaii at Manoa. I want to study political science and someday be a lawyer. I think with all my passion for politics and advocacy, I think if I become a lawyer, I could make real significant change that way, and I would love to see that happen someday.
Well, you certainly should think about running for higher office or for office sometime in the future, get your education, but I think you are well on your way. You have made a lot of people very, very proud of you, Charla. You have made the Marino community, your school, very proud of you. And I will just say, you know, we wish you the best of luck in all of your next future ventures, because I think it's going to be really, really fun to watch and see what you do. I want to turn next to our next guest. We're going to go all the way to the Big Island, where we're going to learn about Keiki Heroes, a community collaboration where we saw students uplifting their voices to be able to explain and help others get through this pandemic. So if Olala could take us to the Keiki Heroes video.
It's been kind of hard and scary because mostly at school I have to like learn how to social distance and not really like be close to my friends. It's kind of scary because there's like a whole pandemic going around and I have to like, you know, go to school and try to like do everything differently.
For the most part, our keiki haven't really experienced the physical ailments that our kupuna have. But through this pandemic, what they have experienced is severe isolation, not being able to enjoy their community and friends, not being able to learn normally. And all of these disruptions and real trauma to their childhood is something that we're concerned about. Keiki Heroes is a community empowerment project that's really focused on helping our keiki adopt healthy practices and staying healthy during the pandemic and build resilience beyond. So a group of volunteers came together looking at how do we support our keiki through this pandemic. When we started developing some materials, partnering with our artist Yuko and asking her to come up with some drawings that'll help root our story. The story of Kai and Hoku experiencing a pandemic and what they feel and how they choose to be keiki heroes through it. And all the materials and information that we share is really rooted on the science and the latest information. We also developed a series of videos, the keiki videos, where we're giving voice to our keiki to be able to ask the questions that they're really curious about.
Hi, I'm Jace, and this is my brother Bo. My question is, how do we make distance learning more fun?
If everyone is already wearing a mask, how come I have to wear a mask?
When can I see my cousins again?
When do you think COVID's gonna end?
We're all trying to do the same thing here. We're trying to help our community stay safe, keep the COVID counts down so that we can be more resilient as a community together. We also have a fun community music video.
I take care of my community by taking care of myself. I take care of my community by taking care of myself.
One of the things that we're really aware of is different people access information differently. And for those purposes, we do a wide range of ways to get materials into our community. We also think in terms of access that not everybody is comfortable with English. And so we're very concerned for communities that they may need materials in their own language to be able to internalize and for Keiki to feel like this is really for them. So we have translated our activity books into 14 different languages. Some of our earliest supporters are Waikoloa Foundation. We also had County of Hawaii and Vibrant Hawaii as partners, both in funding and in terms of getting the message out to our community.
The Keiki Heroes Project really elevated the opportunity for Keiki not to just be recipients of information, but to be change agents in our community.
Aloha o ka pi'i ana ia ko'ino.
I'm Kana'i, and this is my sister, Kela.
I think it's good for kids to learn how to protect their community and their ohana when it's not just like your parents, it's like you too, it's everybody. And so you have to do your part in trying not to spread it. The messages in the book helps kids with their thinking about the good things and what you can do to help it instead of thinking about the bad things about it.
Our keiki who are going through this pandemic, even though it is really hard and challenging for them, that through it, they will be the best prepared leaders of tomorrow because they're not victims, they're actually heroes.
Aloha and welcome back to Talk Story with House Majority. So hailing all the way from Hilo, Big Island, we have Jakob Au. Jakob, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So quick questions about just a little bit of biographical information. Who are you? What school did you go to? What college were you attending? Some basic information.
Sure. So I'm a local guy, born and raised in Hilo, Hawaii on the Big Island. And I went to St. Joseph's School in Hilo for a majority of my life. And then I graduated at HPA in Waimea. And then I'm currently a software engineer in the software engineer program at Drexel University in Philadelphia. So I'm in my third year now. So yeah.
March 2020, where were you and what did you have to do in those first few months at the start of the nationwide lockdown?
Sure. So when I first started to get the news and see what was going on, I was still in Philadelphia. And so my family rung me up and said, you got to come home. We want you home. We want you here. So I left early. And so I would have technically had a 3-week spring break. And I wasn't even prepared to leave. Right? I just packed my bags and left. I didn't even have a check on, or a carry or check-in. Right. I only had my carry-on. And so when I got home, I was expecting to go back 3 weeks later. But that didn't happen. Here I am a year and a half later, sitting here in my home in Hilo right now, not having gone back to Philly. So I had my friends move out. It was nuts. But what I did, was I got a job in Hilo at Gum Design, a small web development company. The program that I'm in, it requires me to have a job, which was extremely hard to find. I had to apply in Philly and then kind of interview in here. It was just crazy. So I got a job here, and yeah.
So many of Hawaii students were in your similar situation where they found themselves at home stuck and having to figure out what to do next. So I know you have a little bit of a funny story about when you came home to Hilo. Can you share with us what happened when you came back?
Sure. So when I came back, we quarantined myself. So my family quarantined me for 2 weeks. So I lived upstairs for 2 weeks, and my dad actually built a custom wall where it kind of sectioned off part of the house where it was my room, a little other room, and then a bathroom and a shower. And the wall had a clear window in the middle, so we could actually eat dinner together. And I was drawing pictures, and there was this little hole that I would put my laundry in, and they would give me food. So it was really interesting. And this was even before the lockdown, so no one was really doing that.
Your parents took extra care to make sure, and you had come from the East Coast where there was this fear that there was a lot of COVID. So you had a lot of time to think while you were in quarantine for 2 weeks. What were some of the things that were going through your mind, and how did you get involved coming out of quarantine with Keiki Heroes?
Sure. So I did have a lot of time to think, about 2 weeks, and I was in there for the entirety of the time. And majority of the time I was actually looking at the news. That was the only thing I could really do to have control and feel control over my life. And just looking at the news and realizing that everyone's going to be online, and it's an opportunity for me to kind of thrive as a software engineer. Or as a computer savvy person, there's this opportunity where everyone has to be online, and I want to take that and make something of it. So right after I got out, I started to reach out to the community, and I found a group. I was lucky enough to be in a group called High STEM Community Care, which is a group of volunteer community leaders that includes doctors, engineers, project managers, people with very extensive background. And as a college kid, I got to join because it was on Zoom, and otherwise wouldn't have been. And in one of the meetings that they had and that I was there, a vice principal guest came on and was talking about how there was a problem with keikis not understanding, and there's no filter for keikis. They're just seeing the information through their parents, and so it was really bad. And when a bunch of us started popping ideas back and forth, it continued. And that's where Keiki Heroes was born, was just a bunch of community leaders talking about it and coming up with solutions. Now, the conversation continued, and I continued to be a part of it. And I actually helped them create their initial posters, their initial website, and I'm currently helping them with their in-person events.
So I love it that you were there at the very beginning, that you saw this opportunity with online learning and reaching out to folks. And I really, really love the fact that you wanted to integrate kids and Keiki. Before we talk about Keiki and who was involved, what were your hours like as you headed into fall 2020? Because you were still balancing school and this volunteer work. Tell me a little bit about how that worked.
So when I first got back, I actually had to stay on East Coast time because I still had to take finals. So I was waking up at 1 to 3 o'clock in the morning and going to bed at 4 p.m., which was extremely weird. It was a flip schedule. I was taking my math tests in pitch dark. It was just weird. And so that was what originally my hours were like. But then afterwards, I kind of started doing projects of my own. And I actually, for the past year, haven't been going to school because it was just too much to go virtually on the East Coast. And I thought I could just stick to volunteer work, and I've been freelancing. And so my hours were pretty much volunteering for many different organizations, not only Keiki Heroes, but many different organizations here in Hilo, especially with the High STEM Care Group. There was a lot going on, so a lot I could dip my foot in. Yeah.
So we have our second guest who has been sitting so patiently next to you. But one of the things I really, really love about Keiki Heroes was how you folks integrated Keiki into this process and into the youth ambassadors. So if you could introduce us to Basil, who's sitting next to you, as well as talk a little bit about what the youth ambassadors were, Jacob, that would be awesome.
So the reason why I was so involved in Keiki Heroes especially was because I really care about my sisters. I have 3 younger sisters. Basil is next to me. She's the youngest. And I have twin sisters as well. And so just seeing them go through the same situation or the same environment that I'm going, or that we all been through, the pandemic, I'm already in college. So I've already experienced elementary school, which was Basil's in, and high school, which my other sisters are in. And so I wanted to give them a chance to get involved with the community because it's a good opportunity for them. So Basil has been involved a lot in Keiki Heroes. So the main characters for Keiki Heroes is Kai and Hoku, and Basil looks exactly like the character Hoku. And so it has been a pleasure getting her involved in everything that we've been doing. She's been part of interviews, videos. She helped me with in-person events. She's been signing people up for the pledge. She herself signed up for the pledge. It's been great.
So Basil, just like I asked Charla and Jacob, what was your experience like going back to school in the middle of this pandemic?
Well, it was actually really scary for me. Like, I didn't want to get COVID. Like, you know, COVID is a really scary thing. So I would keep on telling my classmates, like, wear your mask, please stay socially distanced. And I was just really scared in that time.
You, Basil, what was the importance of Keiki Hero to your community from your perspective?
Well, for me, it's like really important for keikis to be able to make a difference because usually it's always adults who know everything. It's always the adults who make a difference. But this time, the keikis can be telling the adults how to do stuff. They can make a big difference in this COVID pandemic.
And Basil, it sounds like you had your brother with you during this pandemic. What was it like having your brother around, and what was it like working with your big brother?
Well, actually, I was really happy and excited that he came back from the mainland because I wanted to hang out with him a lot. Like, me and him emailed a lot, and we would, like, say, like, oh, I want to do this when you come back. And it was really exciting. And when he introduced me to Keiki Heroes, I was really excited to get on it and working with them. So he would help me with the interviews and what I did for Keiki Heroes, and it was really exciting, and I was happy.
So Basil, from your perspective, now you're under 12. Looking at vaccines being available for under 12-year-olds, what are some of the next steps for Keiki Heroes? Again, from your perspective.
Well, actually, for the vaccine, I'm really excited to get it because I want to be safer with the vaccine than just like hanging out there, I guess. But I think the next steps for Keiki Heroes are like, because I don't know what they're going to be doing after COVID, but I think it would be really good if they're continuing, like, helping keikis to do more than just the adults. So that's what I think they should be doing.
So maybe I'll throw this question to you, Jacob. What are the next possible steps for Keiki Heroes? Some of their volunteers are going to be returning back to school. Life goes on. What do you think are some of the next steps for Keiki Heroes?
Yeah, so from the beginning, from the very start, we were thinking about that question because, COVID, we're going to have solutions for it, and it's going to not be the relevant issue in the future. And so this is the question we've been thinking about for a while. And I think what's worked so far with us is really sharing healthy habits for keiki. And healthy habits can include a lot of different things. But right now, it's COVID that we need to share. Especially with fall coming out, students are going to go back to in-person school. So we're going to be really hammering on that kind of messaging. Also, mental and social well-being. We're working with the Box to do some eating healthy activities. We're doing a lot of art activities currently. So it's not just the pandemic that we're focused on and the vaccines. It's a lot of different things that we're trying to branch off to.
And I want to put a plug in there. All of these resources, right, Jacob, are available online. So teachers, even here on Oahu and statewide, can use these resources. Is that correct?
Yeah, so if you go to keikiheroes.org or .com, so that's keikiheroes.com, you can go and there's free resources. There's free coloring books. You can actually sign up for a pledge. You just have to do a couple of check boxes, and Keiki can sign up for a pledge. And if they're here in Hilo, they can get free things. So it's really cool. And there's a lot of games, activities. I don't know, just go on and check it out for yourselves.
And I think teachers, like you said, are going to be looking for some of those resources. So for sure, I will be plugging those resources with the people that I know. Now, Jake, for yourself, what are some of the key takeaways for you having worked with Keiki Heroes?
Yeah, so I think the main key takeaway for me is really throughout the pandemic, I really had to change. All of a sudden, I'm back at home, and I was in Philly just, a while ago, thinking I was just gonna to vacation here in Hawaii. But now that I'm back, it really made me rethink my entire life pathway or career path. And now I'm back in Hilo, and I'm doing community work that I've always wanted to do after I come back. And so I want to continue these connections, but really I had to adapt and find opportunity in this situation, and being at home all day, it's not the best place that I enjoyed being in, but I made the most of it. And I do think there's opportunities for a lot of high school and college students like myself to go online and to reach out to their communities, because a lot of these things are virtually and you don't have to drive anywhere to hop on a Zoom meeting. All you need is a good internet connection and a computer.
Well, I think, you're doing so many important things, Jacob, and I'm so proud of you. I know that we've seen the videos. They've gone statewide. They explain a lot about what's going on. What are the next steps for you personally, Jacob, as the last question?
Yeah, so I'm a builder. I'm always doing something. So I'm definitely going to be doing projects similar to Keiki Heroes. I'm continuing to work with Keiki Heroes. But in the fall, I'm actually going to return back to school in Drexel. I'm going to go there in person. And of course, in the future, I really want to come back and do more projects like Keiki Heroes. But instead of me helping them, I want to run one. So.
Jacob and Basil, thank you so much for joining me all the way from the Big Island. You folks have been a voice for so many keiki and have educated, I think, a lot of people. I know that you've had some very interesting video conversations, asking questions of the experts. So that's another resource that I think I'm going to point my friends towards. Thank you for joining us. You make your families and your community so proud of you. And we will see you next time on Talk Story with House Majority, when you're doing something like I'm doing in this seat. So thank you so much. And now we're going to turn to another and final group of amazing students who have been working with raising awareness about dating violence here in Hawaii. Let's turn to a video of women speaking out.
I started WSO really, I think for me it was an opportunity first to heal. It was also an opportunity for me to help other young women. I really believe that women are shamed twice. One, for being abused, and then two, for speaking out. And so Women Speaking Out, we really serve as a platform, really as a safe haven to help young women know that it's okay to be who they are. It's okay to talk about any type of abuse they've experienced, and more importantly, to really teach them self-love and that they're worthy.
I believe that WSO is important for people my age because dating violence isn't something that a lot of people talk about because it's sort of taboo and no one wants to talk about the negative sides that someone could face in a possible relationship. And young girls learning what to tolerate in a relationship and learning what not to tolerate and what is abuse and what things are abuse is very important. That way they're never in a situation where they're scared or getting hurt.
After attending my first WSO conference, it inspired me to create my own business at the age of 16. My company focuses on the importance of helping women feel safe when they're out of their comfort zones. I wanted to help women who are afraid of fighting chance against domestic violence or abuse.
WSO has left a leading impact on my life that reminds me that even in the toughest situations, I can stand up and speak my truth to make an impact on not only my life, but others as well. And then with my friends, it has allowed us to keep a strong and healthy relationship between ourselves, but others as well.
The best part about WSO is that I am able to meet students from across the state and actually hear their input and see their genuine interest in wanting to help empower others.
Being a part of WSO, it helps me to be able to feel confident in myself and that it's okay to have your own opinion and have your own voice. It allows you to really show the world who you can be even when people may underestimate your abilities.
My favorite part about Women Speaking Out is how their conferences offer real-life stories, and it can be very heartfelt and touching that can make you realize how dating violence can happen to anyone.
We're excited about our future goals. Women Speaking Out continues to grow, and what we're looking forward into the future is really expanding our programs for young men. educating them about dating violence, providing mentorship, providing life skills, and really all of that, again, is about educating students. So we want to broaden our horizon, broaden our target audience from middle school through college, and all with the vision. We want to teach our students to speak up, speak out, and speak love.
Aloha and welcome back to Talk Story with House Majority. For our third and final segment, I have another live guest. She's a recent graduate from Farrington High School and was involved in a variety of things throughout the pandemic, including women speaking out. Luckily, I have her with me now to discuss some of her successes. Vanessa, welcome to the show. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
My name is Vanessa Pascua. I graduated from Farrington High School all while attending Honolulu Community College. I recently graduated with my associate's degree in liberal arts this year.
So you got a dual degree, both?
Yes, my high school diploma and as well as my associate's degree.
So you were doing something a little bit different than others as well. So take me back to March 2020 when we were going into shutdown. What was it like jumping through all of the remote learning for your early college classes?
Well, March 2020, that was actually the first year I actually got to step on like a college campus. Previously, I was all on my high school campus doing early college classes. So it was kind of, my college experience was kind of cut short. After March 2020, it all went online, and then my next 3 semesters were all online. So I never really got the full college experience in person. So it was kind of a hard adjust to me from going straight to, in person and then online.
And you shared with me some of the challenges you faced with learning online. Can you share with me again what some of those challenges are?
Yes, I'm a visual learner. So like my labs were so much harder since I couldn't actually like get to hold or touch any of the projects that I was doing. I actually dropped a few classes because it was really difficult for me to learn through a screen. But I mean, I got through it. I pushed through. It was hard, but it's doable.
So I don't think your experience was unusual. I think lots of people struggled, and I know that my own kids struggled because they are also very visual and tactile learners. So I really commend you for doing college like that as well.
Thank you.
Now, your experience with early college, which is something that we're very interested here in the legislature, was something a little bit different. So can you tell me how you worked through that with your counselor and Farrington High School?
So most of my classes actually were funded through scholarships such as Gear Up and Project Ho'okui, but not all of my classes were. So a few of my classes I had to pay out of pocket for, so I paid a couple $1,000s out of pocket to take classes. So I know it's different for other schools. Some schools, they cover all of your college classes, others don't. I didn't get the opportunity to have all of my classes funded, but that's all right. I'm glad. I'm okay with paying out of pocket. I'm glad I did.
But you're kind of a trailblazer now, because now other students at Farrington High School see this opportunity and can really do early college themselves, right? Now, I know you did early college and you were training to become a dental assistant. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
So I became a dental assistant when I was 16. Originally, I wanted to become a dentist. But I'm glad that I was hired at a young age so that I could, kind of walk through the experience of being a dental assistant and kind of experience what it's like. Now I know that it's not for me. I enjoy the business pathway instead. So I'm really glad that I got to experience that.
But you do still work part-time as a dental assistant as well, as well as balancing school and all your other things that you do.
I was balancing high school, college. I was full-time as a dental assistant even when the pandemic was still going on. I recently just switched to part-time, and then I started my business, and then I was juggling all 4.
Vanessa, you do more in a day than some people do in a month. So, wow. Now tell me, how did you get involved with Women Speaking Out?
Well, I attended my first Women Speaking Out conference when I believe I was a sophomore or a junior, and at first I didn't really know what how big of an impact it would be. I loved how Women Speaking Out is a nonprofit, and they speak up against dating violence. And I think it's really important for everybody, women, everybody of all ages, to know that dating violence is real, and we should speak up against it, speak out. Our slogan is speak up, speak out, speak love.
Well, I love that, and I love that video because it really demonstrated the importance of young people knowing how to identify when dating violence is happening and how to respond to it. So from your work with WSO, can you share with me a little bit about what do you do when you see someone, or you yourself might be in a situation where there's dating violence?
So the conferences that we hold, they put us through situations about of like what we could do. So a few things we could do is, of course, we could speak up, whether that being for yourself or for somebody else. You know, the shame and intimidation may cause somebody not want to speak up for themselves. So as a friend or a family member, we could do that. We could speak up for them, seek help for them, just give them, you know, all of our encouragement.
So I think, again, this work is so important, and what you're really doing is the prevention.
Yes.
Right? So I wanted to talk about, and see, I know that you've worked with WSO. Can you tell me how WSO sort of inspired or worked parallel with your small business venture? And can you tell us about what your small business is?
So my first conference, I was actually inspired to sell self-defense products. I saw a few girls selling it a few years back, I believe when I was in middle school, but they stopped selling. So it kind of gave me an idea like, oh, okay, maybe I'll give it a try. And when I was 15, I was really intimidated. I never got into it because, I don't know, it's just something like I thought 15-year-old me couldn't do. But I took a really big step in the middle of the pandemic. I believe in July 2020, I probably spent about almost $1,000 in products. And that was a really big jump for me, especially during the middle of a pandemic, and I started selling my products, and it went really well. By December, I sold about 4,000 keychains all around the world, and I had videos that surpassed about 20 million views.
So I'm not sure if Olelo has this, but if they do have it, I think we have some of your TikTok video. Oh no, they don't. We're gonna have to share it with the audience in the future. But you had some really interesting marketing ideas, and so that's how you got 20 million viewers, right? Yeah. So we're gonna do a little bit of a demonstration because we have some of your product here, and I know that one of the things that you have is a keychain. So why don't you share it with us?
So this is a 3-in-1. I really like it. It's like a hammer. So this little piece, it actually breaks windows. I can't demonstrate that today, but there's a blade in here that actually slices seatbelts, and then this right here is like a whistle. So I have a piece of seatbelt here.
We'll hold on to that.
And then might be a little.
So this is if you're in a bind, someone's got you.
So.
And your seatbelt maybe.
You just. Really,
we have to pull it.
Yeah, it's super, but oh goodness, this is much easier. Oh, sorry.
Maybe I need to tug it. Morgan, you want to tug it? Okay, ready?
Oh yeah.
There we go.
It's like. There.
Wow, so it really slices through if you've been if you're somehow.
Of course, it's easier when you're actually in a car, but it does the job. It slices through.
Sure.
Yeah.
So this was an idea that you came up with during the middle of the pandemic. You had to tell me about what you had to do to source all of these products.
So I have a manufacturer in China, and then he ships it down to me, and I buy the products in bulk, but I create them myself. So it's not like he does all the work for me. I buy it from him, and then I assemble it all myself. I don't actually have the full keychain on me, but there's a bunch of products, and then it's attached all into one, and then I sell it in whole. So there's 6 or 7 products, and then I sell it all
So what I
together.
really love about it is I have actually seen that, and it's
Yes.
shopmissessence.com. I shared that with some of my daughters, and they have friends who walk home
I
from
know.
school, and they're like,
Yeah.
oh, we need this, because it's kind of scary out there, and you
Yeah.
want to have like a little alarm.
Yeah. Oh, I actually have the alarm. Did you want me to demonstrate?
Sure,
it?
why don't you demonstrate that?
It's pretty loud, so it's. And then there's like a flashlight you can use. So this is really good if you're taking you're walking to school, walking home, and it causes attention. So people, of course, would be like, oh, what is that sound?
So I love that you've done this.
Yes.
You're doing college early. You're working on women speaking out.
Mm-hmm.
You've created your own small business. What's next for? Let's just talk about women speaking out, because you continue to be on their youth board.
Yes.
So what's next for women speaking out?
Of course, I want to continue being an advocate for women speaking out. I hope that other women can learn of our nonprofit and, maybe even volunteer or be a part of the conferences that take place, so that we can educate them, they can educate themselves about learning how to love themselves, and, educating themselves about dating violence, what they can do to prevent it, whether that being a friend or a family member. It's just really good to know of all of these things, because it is preventable. Mm-hmm. And the number one thing I want to do is for us to prevent it. And it can't be prevented unless everyone joins in. It's a community.
Yeah. So what I really like is Juliet has talked about the conference even expanding to maybe young men.
Yes.
And I think that is super important, because I think if we all talk about it, then we can all, shine a light on it, and shine a light on the bad behavior.
Yes.
Okay, so what's next for you personally, Vanessa?
Well, I want to continue with my business pathways. I'm not too sure if I'm going to continue the self-defense products. I plan to sell out, and then I'm not too sure if I'm going to restock again. Hopefully I do, but I'm planning to go to school, maybe somewhere on the island, to continue business. I'm not too sure in what, but I know I want to get a bachelor's degree in business, and then continue my business.
Well, I know you have such an entrepreneurial spirit.
Yes.
And it really seems like it's you're in search for something, and I think it's wonderful that you've already started to do that through the early college experience, as well as with all of these great community connections you made. So Vanessa, you make a lot of people proud in your community.
Thank you.
And I think you really trailblazed a lot for someone who's only 16? 17. Oh my goodness. So thank you so much for joining me, and we really want to shine a light on all the work that you're doing, and so we'll be sure to talk about women speaking out, as well as shopmissessence.com.
Of course. Thank you so much.
So thank you for joining us on our special episode of Talk Story with House Majority. As you can see, we are just so impressed and proud of all of our Hawaii graduates, both from high school to our graduates who are attending colleges and successfully navigating through distance learning. On behalf of the Hawaii House of Representatives, I want to say congratulations to all of them. I want to invite you to come back and watch our next 3 special episodes of Talk Story with House Majority. We will be getting information about when those dates are. And if you have any ideas, please email me at repbalati@capital.hawaii.gov with any story ideas that you might have and you want us to explore on Talk Story with House Majority. I'd like to leave you with our Hawaii House of Representatives congratulations video to our class of 2021. Aloha. Aloha, and congratulations to the class of 2021.
From high school graduates to college graduates, from those graduated locally to Kama'aina who graduated abroad.
We are so proud of each student who has graduated this year.
We honor your hard work and dedication to have graduated during one of the most unexpected and challenging times the world has ever seen.
To have graduated during this time is a great achievement, and you should all be extremely proud of yourselves.
We know it wasn't easy, but your hard work has paid off, and now your journey continues.
On behalf of the House of Representatives, we'd like to congratulate you and your families on this joyous occasion.
Congratulations on your future endeavors.
Congratulations, keep chasing your dreams.
Ho'omai ka'iana, congratulations, and wish you all the very best in your future endeavors.